This week on the Elevation Nation podcast, we are talking all about the concept of transition, awkward phases, learning who you are, being true to yourself, and so much more with our special guest tonight, Jordan Monaghan. Jordan, welcome to the Elevation Nation podcast, brother. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I don't think I've ever gotten a warmer welcome than that.
I was going to say, Sam is usually like much longer winded with his introductions, but that was good, concise, beautiful, to the point. Jordan, I know we just met, but Elevation Nation, you are in for a treat when you're listening to this episode because the conversation that we had before we started recording was a great conversation. So I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when we start shooting the shit with Jordan. Can't wait for it.
Let's do it. Jordan, so how we start off every episode is we like to have our guests of Elevation Nation give a quick elevator pitch. So can you tell us in 30 seconds or so who you are and what you're up to now?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jordan Monaghan. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I work in politics, specifically in communications, campaigns on the Democratic side. I work for the governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, as his press secretary. So I'm based in Raleigh, and I work mainly with media, developing relationships with them, being the on-the-record spokesperson for the office, and prepping the governor and staffing him at any media event.
And I love that because I'm reading through that, Jordan, as a challenge for Parker and myself to make the perfectly polished PR trained professional that you are to slip up and swear or say something and say never mind.
I already slipped up and sweared. Jordan,
I'll swear.
Sam is the person who is swearing on this podcast. I don't know what happened. Just like shoot the shit. Boom.
There you go. We're starting off hot. That was a perfect elevator pitch. Thank you, Jordan. That was awesome.
Yeah, so Jordan, way we're going to break down this conversation, and Elevation knows, but if you're new to Elevation Nation, and Jordan, I'm sure you don't necessarily know how we're going to break down this conversation either, the way we do it is around this concept that Sam and I have been studying, obsessed with for the last 20 months plus, since the beginning of COVID, actually, and it's the concept of mental fortitude. And mental fortitude is the key thing that Sam and I believe young adults need to conquer the real world. And the way we break down mental fortitude at Elevation Nation is by three things: self-awareness, vision, and accountability. And if you have all three of those things, you can truly elevate yourself in the real world. So we're going to break it down by self-awareness, vision, accountability. So let's start with self-awareness. Jordan, this is a tough question. Everyone gets this question wrong. Just kidding. What's one word that best describes you?
I can't say multifaceted, huh? I would say one word that describes me, passionate. Oh, did I lose you guys?
Hello?
Hey, did I lose you? Can you hear me?
Parker, can you hear me? I can't hear you, Parker.
Can you hear me?
Is Jordan gone?
Hey, I can hear you guys.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Hello? Yeah, so sorry.
Can you hear me?
Jordan's not on my screen anymore.
Yeah, he's not on my screen either.
Oh.
Can you hear me on the mic?
Yeah, I can.
Hold on, let me call Jordan. That's so weird.
Hey, I can hear you.
You're off my screen.
Yeah, and it's doing this thing on my. It's just doing the refreshing thing. Do you want me to just refresh?
Yeah, if you don't mind. That's so weird. Yeah, because you were gone, and I was like, wait, where'd you go? Damn it. Okay, we'll get it back.
Eh,
Here you are. You're coming back in now.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello again.
Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what
Parker,
happened.
you are on mute.
Oh, well, okay.
Okay. Are we all here now? We're all
Yes.
good now.
I guess my word just crashed the system.
Yeah, it was so exciting.
Dang. All right, so let me, just so I know when I edit this, I'm going to re-ask the question. I'm not going to go through that whole spiel again.
Okay.
I'll re-ask the question, and then we'll go from there. Was it the internet, or what happened?
I don't know. I'm turning off.
He got like the
my-
spinning wheel of death on his. Like he was still seeing my bubble, but like his bubble left for me. That was weird.
Oh, that was weird.
Huh,
You
that's
yeah,
never
you
happened before.
froze on mine and then kept talking and then went
Oh,
away.
weird.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
I just
all
took
good.
both
We
my
should be
phones
fine now.
off Wi-Fi, so hopefully that'll maybe. I don't know if that was it.
Okay.
but-
Yeah, I did the same as well. Okay.
All good.
So let's redo this.
Cool.
So Jordan, we ask everyone who comes on the Elevation Nation podcast this first question to get it going, all about self-awareness. What one word best describes you?
I think I'm going to go back to the word that I used to use in high school because I do feel like even though that was at a very young age, it was accurate. And it'd be passionate. Passionate about a lot of different stuff. And I'm realizing that I'm using a lot more words than one, so I'll just leave it at passionate.
No, I think passionate's beautiful, and where you were going was kind of answering our next question, which is, was there an event that triggered that passion in you, right? Was there something, how your parents raised you, or do you think you were born with this trait to be passionate about something and it just so happened to be, politics or whatever you're passionate about? Was there some event?
I don't think it's an event. I think you kind of answered the question when you started giving some examples, but I was raised in a very emotionally intelligent household. So my mom was always very purposeful about asking me, okay, so you're feeling this way. Why do you feel that way? Where is it coming from? What is it about? Is there anything you can do about it? Do you want to do anything about it? Kind of working with me to kind of figure out, I think, where my emotions stemmed from, how that informed who I was, and also how I could use them or channel them in a certain direction. And so I think that from an early age, I was able to kind of sift out a lot of the, I don't know, aimless negative stuff and kind of realize things that I was passionate about. And that came to define a lot of who I am and who I consider myself to be.
I think that is awesome. Emotion intelligence is something that Sam and I talk about a ton on this podcast. I'm curious. So as we're talking about transitions here on this episode. You go from high school. You grow up with your family, your parents, your siblings, whomever, your town where you grow up, and you see the way the world works. You learn from other people. There's such an influence from your family on you. Then you go to college. What was that transition like for you, and how were you able to display that emotional intelligence that you learned growing up, while you were in college?
Yeah. So the first part of the question, what it was like for me, I when I was thinking about the show, I was like, this is going to be so great to share because when I was a senior in high school, all the people I knew would come back from college and they'd be like, oh, college is the best place ever. I love it. Like, it is no rules. Like, it's so great. And I was like, this is incredible. I can't wait. And so I, fucked my way through like senior year, like fucked around, got graduated, and then got to college. And I was like, what the hell is this? This sucks. I hate this. I was like super lonely and I was super anxious. And the issue was that I then turned it on myself and I was like, well, everyone else I knew said that college was so great and no one said that it was hard for them. So it must be that I'm not good enough for college and I can't do it. And I literally remember in the first few days of freshman year, I called my mom and they were still staying in Winston-Salem, which is where my school was. And I called her and I was like, I just don't really know if this college thing is for me. Like, I really am anxious and I am not having a good time and I don't know who my friends are going to be. And I think that just speaks a lot of volumes of how people are not transparent about the challenges they face. Because if I had known going into college that people had a hard time that I knew, I maybe would have been a little bit easier on myself, or knew to expect it more, and I didn't. So I think that's how the transition was initially for me. And in terms of being emotionally intelligent in college, also kind of a vulnerable thing, I guess. I wasn't. I didn't really use my emotional intelligence the first year or so in college. I really struggled with my sexuality. I definitely didn't want to be who I am. And I didn't let myself be who I was, both in like my social life, in my academics. I did everything I could to not be that passionate kid that I felt like I grew up as. So it took a while before I kind of cracked the shell a little bit more to be able to use the emotional intelligence I've been given at college. Kind of pushed it down and ignored it, I guess.
And I think I appreciate you for getting introspective and deep and vulnerable with us on that, because I think you're exactly right. And you just nailed exactly why Parker and I started the Elevation Nation podcast. Again, we make no money on this thing. It takes a lot of our time. We did this because we both struggled too. Our transition was college to the real world, but you're exactly right. No one talks about these weird, awkward times. And I think this is even more amplified in this social media world that we live in now, because everyone is trying to paint a prettier, sexier, happier, more fulfilled picture of themselves.
It's so fucking fake, man.
It's so fake.
So fake.
And that's why these conversations, right? Like, all three of us grabbed a drink, we put our phones on silent, and we're going to sit here as three friends, three young males, diving into our emotions, the struggles we went through, our sexuality, things like that. And it's like, it's not all easy. Yeah. It's not. And like, that's okay. You're not alone out there. So I think my rant here is, I just want to reiterate to Elevation Nation and anyone who's listening to this that's struggling with a transition, who they are, their new job, life. It's like, it's okay. Get off Instagram, listen to the podcast, reach out to Parker, myself, Jordan, whoever. It's like, there are people that will listen to you, and there are people that will help you through whatever problems you're going through right now.
At the end of the day, you're not alone. And sometimes when we're on social media, we think we're not alone because we're surrounded by people who we think we are friends with, we think we're close with, we think we are connected with, just because we have them at our fingertips, right? Mm-hmm. But you're never alone. Yeah. It's about the people you spend your days with, the people you have conversations with. So if you're struggling or you're doing great, continue those relationships. Jordan, I want to bring it back to college. You're going through this difficult time, your first year. Talk about, wow, is college even for me? What's going on? You're doing great now. At some point in between now and then, there was a turning point. What was it for you that brought you to that turning point? And how did that change your mindset as you saw yourself in the real world?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do just want to, I almost said I want to flag, but I need to stop using professional lingo outside of work hours. But what Sam said a second ago about the transition from high school to college was hard for me in college to real world. I don't want to in any way infer that college to real world was also a fucking breeze. Like, that is hard as hell too. But I think as a true communications professional, I'm probably going to flip it back and say it in a different way. I actually don't think it was a single turning point. I think that there were several different incremental moments that I kind of just let me be more me. I think a lot of times in college, I was very concerned with what people thought of me. I was very concerned with where I fit in. And slowly, with a lot of the, as you were talking about, supportive friends, a lot of the just kind of like being introspective and talking to myself a little more, I kind of figured out more what I wanted to do, and I started to let myself do it, because I asked myself, I was like, what is truly the worst that could happen if I started being a little bit more open about the fact that I was gay? What is truly the worst that could happen if I did something like run for student government? And that stuff happened in college. And I think all of those experiences that really kind of threw me off the deep end prepared me a little bit more for post college. And I think the last thing I'll say is like, there have been several, I don't even think I can say several. I think I have to say like probably scores. So like above 40 or 50, like moments in my life when I have been just absolutely terrified of like what I'm about to do, whether it's anything in college, coming out to friends, a fraternity, etc., running for a student position, or post college, moving across the country for jobs, like doing all that stuff. I truly believe that the moments in which you like do something that scares the shit out of you is when you grow the most. And it's also the hardest moments, which is kind of pretty ironic. But so those points kind of I feel like have helped me get here and help me continue to go where I'm going to go, because I'm not done. I don't know who I am. I'm still figuring it out.
You're just getting started. And it's that component of self-awareness that is so important. It's so, I think it's so impactful for a young adult to know who they are at their core, buy into that and understand that and own that, and then double down on that. This is who I am. I'm not changing, or in the moment, I'm not changing. Mm-hmm. So why not double down on the things that you bring to the table, the things that you're great at, and also the things that you're not good at, understanding those too, understanding the person you're not. As a young adult, that is a challenge. And that is why self-awareness is the foundation for mental fortitude, to get over those humps, whether it's the easiest or the most difficult ones.
Yeah. I think,
also
go ahead, Sam.
Well, Jordan, I got to highlight one thing. You keep saying run for student body. Can we just say it like it is here? You were president of Wake Forest. You ran and won. I think that's an important note here as well.
Yeah,
continue.
I don't know how they let me do that. I think the other thing I was just going to say is like the kind of twofold off of what y'all just mentioned. Like the importance of knowing what you're not good at is like almost more important than knowing what you are good at, because knowing when it's your moment to kind of be like, I have some more to learn here, and like I don't need to be the loudest voice, has been really helpful for me. If you think I talk a lot now, you should have met me in like middle school, because I would not shut the hell up, and I would just talk and talk and talk and talk. And I had kind of like a mentor at one point say to me like, do you ever wonder what other people might want to say? And I was like, damn, yeah, I do.
Wow.
So I have really, really tried to kind of think about moments where I can take a step back, and that's been really helpful for self-awareness. And the last thing I would say about that too is like, and this is something that I am always working on. And if I'm talking too much, just let me know. But
no, we're going, man. We're going. This is all great.
This is something that I'm always working on, and I'm continuing to work on it. I think everyone does. You're not supposed to have it all figured out at any individual moment. So like when people graduate and they're like, I don't know what my job is, and then they get a job, and then they're like, oh, but I don't have a significant other, like whatever. Like you're not supposed to know how it's all gonna play out. And I feel like we often are like, especially in moments of transition, we're like, oh my God, how do I not have like this job or this great apartment or this significant other or XYZ? And that you view that as a failing of yourself. And like, if we were supposed to have it all figured out from the get-go, life would be so fucking boring.
I look at it this way. If you have it all figured out, you might as well, I don't want to say it like this, like you're already like dead at that point. Because what's your will to continue if it's figured out? If it's figured out, it's done. That's not life. You know, why are we have this idea in our head like we got to figure it all out? No, it's the process to getting where we want to go that's just continual. It never ends. And you enjoy the journey because you never know what you're going to get. It's going to be up and down and everything around.
Yeah.
And speaking of the journey, as you beautifully closed out our self-awareness section there, Jordan, let's talk a little bit about that journey. You mentioned that you were playing out in your head, what's the worst that could happen? in these scenarios as an openly gay man getting into politics in the South, right? We're considering North Carolina the South.
Oh, don't argue with me on that. It's the South.
Hey,
Dude,
I'll take
South.
it. Man, I'm from
like,
Chicago, man. Everything's
if North
South
Carolina is not the South, I don't know what the South is then.
Right? So you're self-aware. You understand who you are at your core. And that brings us to this next section, this next part of mental fortitude, which is your vision. And I wholeheartedly agree. We can't all figure it out, right? We can't know exactly the next steps that would make life extremely boring. But there's a part of you, at least myself, and I think this is probably my anxiety and just who I am. I play out like every possible variable and scenario in my head whenever I make a big decision of every which way it could go, right? And so as you being self-aware as a gay man wanting to run for student office and get into politics and be truly you, that next step of this vision is a bit scary. How did you go about saying, okay, I know who I am, but holy crap, what's my journey going to be like? What vision do I have for myself? And what if it goes wrong? What is my backup plan? Did you think through that?
Yeah. I think specifically within the context of trying a lot of things in college, I realized I would have been more mad with myself if I didn't try. Um, and I realized that there was more that I was losing by not kind of pushing myself and doing something that's scary. And I think in terms of identifying a vision, I just kind of asked myself what I cared about, like individually. And a lot of that, I have a years long argument with my mother about what's stronger in this country, business or politics. And I know, I'm talking to two consultants here. I'm putting myself in the shark infested waters.
Well, Sam's on like the business side. I'm on the government side here.
I mean, we regulate you guys, so anyways.
Exactly. I mean, we could go back and forth, but it is very difficult.
The black market, baby. Can't regulate what you can't see.
Oh my God. But so I think I do genuinely believe that politics is the best venue for having the biggest impact and changing the most people's lives in a better way. So I kind of identified that, and I was like, I want to have a role in it. I want to have a part in it. And I also do just want to, as a disclaimer, like, and I feel like I might sound like a broken record, but like, if you told me as a senior in college that I was going to do what I did the next 3 years, I would have been like, what the fuck? No way. Like, I have no idea. That is not true. And I think this might be specific for politics, but like, I did not really have a plan when I graduated. I was just kind of like, I got an internship for about 6 months, and it was a paid internship in DC that I could not afford rent on. So I scrounged things together and made it work. And I really did not know what I was going to do after that. And I was unemployed then for about a month and a half. And then I got another job and then jumped somewhere else and then was unemployed again. And so like, I think that for me, the opportunities and the things that have come up, I've always been like, okay, does this fit in that broader idea of what I want to do with my career and with my life, which is having some kind of impact on making things better for people. I don't care about the field. I don't care about the industry. I don't care if it's healthcare, environment, voting rights. I just want to do something that will make things better for more people than before I was here. And
if I may,
yeah,
highlight that and tie that together, Jordan, because what you're saying resonates with me so much because, again, like having gone to business school, there's these expected paths of careers that you're going to take. I don't know what I want to do at 18. Yeah. I don't know what I want to do at 22. I don't know what I want to do at 26, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm passionate about. I don't know what industry I want to be in. I have no idea, but I want to make an impact and I want to help people and I want to feel fulfilled. And so I love that you said that without us like teeing it up. I feel like vision comes back to a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of painting a vision for themselves or a plan or a roadmap for their life based on achievements or cookie cutter routes
Tangible
that they
results.
think have already been paved in the past. And
Yeah.
they think, well, if you want to own your own second home, you have to work your way up the corporate ladder and do X, Y, right? Like,
I don't know if I'm ever
hold
going to
on,
own
let's
a
take
home.
a step. Own a, yeah, right. Like, so, right. And so taking a step back and being like, okay, I don't know exactly what steps I'm going to take to get to wherever my end destination is, but I do know what feeling I want to have throughout that journey and what feeling I want to push towards.
Yeah, and
I feel like that is a great way to go about it. Yeah.
yeah, and something specific that kind of comes to mind that might be applicable here. When I was a senior in college, like I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do after school. There was a program at my university, like a fellows program. I think a lot of schools have it, where you kind of stay for an extra year, work in an administration office, and then go somewhere after that. And I, being as you so woefully mentioned, student body president and involved on campus, everyone was applying for it, and I was like, oh shit, I need to apply for this. And so I applied for it because it was the first thing that came up. It was vaguely in my field that I could like spin into a politics thing in a year and a half. And at that moment, it was a tangible thing in front of me. So I applied for it, went through the process, got an offer, and then I was like, I don't want to do this. And I ended up turning it down, and everyone else who had interviewed was like, what the fuck? And so I think that the important thing to note there too is like, it's okay to not know what you want to do, explore an option, and then be like, oh, that's not actually what I want to do. That's not a failing. If anything, that's a positive. That's a learning. You found out something that you don't want to do. That is something you need to think about and ask yourself why, and then take that to your next position or your next decision, your next jump, your next life issue.
The way I look at it is you'll never know if it's right or not for you unless you try.
Yeah.
Like, as simple as that. You could sit and you could analyze everything. You could be the greatest quantitative analyst of your life and the way to go forward with it. But as long as you don't do it, you ain't going to know shit. You got to go out and do it so that you can learn. And then you can bring back those quantitative analysis skills and then look back and be like, dang, okay, that was cool. I like that. I enjoyed that. I doubled down on that. Again, Jordan, we just talked about your job. I'm more curious now about everything else outside of the job. What was the vision for your life in the real world outside of the job? How did you go about making that a reality and still on that journey to make that a reality?
Yeah. Big questions, Parker. I think really for me, it is all about happiness and things that are mutually beneficial. So I think in terms of outside of my work, a lot of my kind of guiding thoughts and philosophies has really just been asking myself, am I happy? Is this what I want to do? Does this make sense? Is this like something that fits? Do I want this? And I think it's that consistent checking in and being like, where am I at on this? Whatever. And I mean, to go into like more specifics. I mean, for me, I had a pretty strong group of friends in college, and so I knew that that was going to be something that I like really wanted to create after school too. And so really kind of prioritizing that I had people around me who made me feel good, which sounds like, like dumb and like, of course, but like I am shocked, I feel like now at some of the people that some people keep around, and I'm like, do they make you feel good? Like, do they like give you the pump up that you need, and like do they recognize you as like an incredible person? Like I have been so intentional, I feel like in the past few years, of like keeping people in my life and wanting people in my life who like also
Make you feel
believe that I'm
good?
an awesome person and that they're an awesome person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I think that
I read
was,
it.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't want to cut you off, but I just read a tweet yesterday around this specific thing. It's like the tweet said, after you're hanging with someone, how does that person make you feel? Then you'll know everything you need to know about that person.
Yeah.
So be intentional about thinking about that.
Yeah. And I mean, once again, I made many missteps. There were many people that I was friends with after school that like, after a while, I was kind of like, no, this is not, I don't feel good about this.
Matt McPartlin.
Yeah, Matthew McParland. I'm not sure if he, would listen to this, but
Big mistake of a friend.
No,
horrible
he's not,
mistake.
Sam. He's the Elevation Nation podcast guest 101. He's not a bad person. He's a great person, elevating the next generation of people in this country.
We love you,
I
man.
mean,
I'm kidding.
I'll just say this. I don't know if I've ever met anyone else who tells you where they're from quicker than Mac McPartland. I love you, Matt. Anyways,
It's so true.
um,
Oh my god.
so I think that was really important for me in terms of building like just a good support network. And I think also there's been a lot of growth, and I think my boyfriend would be probably the first to tell you this. There's been a lot of growth in my like love life in terms of like understanding the kind of relationship I want and need, and really kind of asking myself the tougher questions on that front. And I think that goes back to vision of like understanding what it's like to be in a healthy relationship. I'm in the first healthy relationship I've ever been in, and it's incredible. And to be able to be with someone who like, cares about you and loves you and is there for you all the time and doesn't make you question yourself or anything is really, really great.
That's what it's all about.
And it's wonderful to have the full, complete life beyond just work, right? And I think sometimes when people think about mental fortitude or Elevation Nation, they think about like, oh, Sam and Parker talk about college to the real world, aka university to the job. No,
Yeah.
life is a way more than that. And in fact, if you actually think our podcast is only about that, I think you need us more because life is much more than just your job.
No one,
Even though, go ahead, Jordan.
I was just going to say, no one fucking told me how important it is to have hobbies. And you got to have some hobbies.
Dude, the transition from college to the real world is such a weird transition. Like I talk to, we mentor people. I remember myself. The job was like everything. Like, oh my God, I graduated college. My life is my job. Everything. This is how I felt. I don't know. I know Sam felt this way. Jordan, I don't know about you, but like weekends thinking about job, everything thinking about job. My anxiety only coming from job. Everything else was just like at an expense of my job. Yeah, there's some people who just are workhorses. They work. They love that aspect of it. But then like for me, it was like my vision when I really sat down and thought about it. Yeah, I'm going to work. I'm going to make a difference in the world and try to be as best as I can. But there's so much more to life than just freaking working.
Yeah.
And the earlier you realize that, I think the better you'll better off be.
Well, and specifically in politics, people do not give themselves the license and the room to want a job with a work-life balance as much as they should. People really think that the only way to work in politics and the only way to be influential is to just really, really toil hours and hours away, have no personal life, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, all of the fucking like Netflix shows that idealize that shit have not helped. But I think that especially in politics, people don't understand that, yeah, it's normal and natural and also valid for you to be like, I think it's okay for me to like take a PTO day once every like 8 months. And so we, especially just in the politics space, people don't understand that that is a human need. And it's not a sign of weakness.
It
But no
absolutely
one tells
is
you
not.
that. No one
We're
tells
telling
you that.
right now.
I know.
We're
but
telling
like,
you.
You heard it here
year,
first.
second year, but like, who's going out and saying that? Like, being like, "Yo, you first, then everything else. We'll figure it out. It'll come in line."
I mean, I
But
think
figure
that's-
yourself out first.
I think that has a lot to do with our generation. And I really genuinely think that once we
100%.
get in more leadership positions and once there are more people our age and our generation who are up there, it will start to shift. I think a lot of the people in the spaces that are making those calls right now and setting that tone are the old guard. But I really do think that once we get up there, there's going to be a shift, hopefully. Anyone I
So-
work for, or anyone who works for me in the future, will always be able to have a little bit more flexibility than I feel like I've been afforded sometimes.
And time off, purposeful time off, is needed to be successful at your job. But speaking of time off, Jordan, our next and last section of mental fortitude is accountability and being able to hold yourself to your vision and who you are. And I want to talk about time off here because you've had multiple times in your career unscheduled time off where you were put in a transition period.
Time off is a nice way to put it.
Thank you. I was trying to make sure I could tie it to the last question. I'm really working on those.
That was Sam. That was good. I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So okay, time off, maybe not the right word. Jordan was on Campaigns That Lost, and all of a sudden, after Election Day, you're out of a job, and you're done. So this unscheduled time off, this unpaid time off, all of a sudden turns into a new weird transition period. And I think for a lot of people, when they lose something that they've invested their heart and soul and time into, they feel defeated. And it's hard to get back up on the horse, not only to just get a job, but to hold yourself accountable to the dreams that you've set out to accomplish and the impact that you've wanted to make that literally just got ripped out in front of your eyes. So I'd love for a minute to talk about that awkward transition period and how you hold yourself accountable when you face defeat.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I think it's funny because you mentioned like metaphorical defeat, and in my mind I was like, well, our ass actually did get defeated on the campaign. Like we got like defeated. But yeah, I think the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about that was the importance of being able to separate your work from the result. I think often we lump in the result with whatever a project, a campaign, anything, whether you won it or you won, whether the bill was passed, etc., with the work, and we retroactively deem all the work positive or negative based on the result. And I think that's not fair to ourselves, not fair to the team you work with. And so when I was on the campaign Sam is referring to as Sarah Gideon's campaign up in Maine, and it was a wonderful campaign, one of the best professional experiences I've ever had. And we also had a very clear villain that a lot of people in our country hated. So that was great. I loved it. But we ran a great campaign. We came up short. And I think for my niche political audience, people who are listening, it's really fucking weird to go from having something that you pour your entire heart and soul into, like you mentioned, to just not having a job. And I don't mean like the weeks later. I mean the day later. Like when we conceded, I was like, what? Do I have to do anything right now? Like even just the emotions. Besides that, I was like, logistically, do I have responsibilities? What's going on? I don't really understand. And I didn't, because we truly didn't. It's really weird to have your employer just evaporate.
Literally.
Wow. Yeah. So that was tough, even in and of itself too, to kind of just process and be like, oh, all of a sudden I literally don't have anything to do. And I think in that immediate time period, I really thought about my work, and I really thought about what I was proud of, and really thought about kind of identifying the lessons and the growth that I wanted to take with me from the campaign, regardless of what happened. Because no matter what the result of the campaign was, Susan Collins is still a horrible senator and a just disgusting person who has done a lot of really bad things. So, anyways, just gotta throw that plug in there.
Let it out.
But I think also what you're talking about with accountability, I really like the word accountability. I think that's really important. However, I want to say that in some ways, what's more important than accountability in some of those periods is to give yourself the space. I did not think about another job for about 2 months after a campaign, and that I think was a little quick. But I needed the space to just recoup and rest, and I think that could go for a lot of different transition periods, not just a campaign. So I think it's keeping yourself accountable to making sure you understand what you want your goals to be next, but it's also, I guess, maybe in a way, holding yourself accountable to really understanding what you need. Because if you don't give yourself that space, then you're not going to feel strong enough to go to the next thing. And I had a shit time too. It was about 6.5, 7 months until I ended up figuring out what I was doing next. And that's a long time. And that was hard.
Sam and I were talking about, he was telling me a little bit more about what you just talked through, and just from the fact that you had a job, the election results came out, you all conceded, you didn't have a job.
Yeah.
And I was thinking in my head, like, there's not many situations or scenarios in like a young person's life where it's just binary. It's like job or not job.
Yeah.
Like, we have jobs. Sam and I have jobs. You have a job. Like, most people have jobs. It's just like, you have the job, and then there's everything. It's like, you do good, you do bad, or you're going to get promoted, or you're not getting promoted. It's like everything. It's not like deadline, day, yes or no.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine that feeling as a young adult, like going through that and navigating that.
And to have it completely out of your hands. Like, no matter what
Out
I
of your
did
hands.
that day, there was nothing
My
that was going to
gosh.
change the result. And watching those numbers come in, I was like, fuck.
Oh my gosh. So, though, in the next few months, we're talking about accountability. You had a lot of free time on your hands. How were you, like, if we're talking like tactically, your day to day, like, what was bringing you back to the positives that you pulled out of that situation? Because like you said, oftentimes we look at the result rather than the work that was put in to get to the result.
Yeah.
How were you able to hold yourself accountable to continue to remind yourself that, damn, I'm Jordan, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I did a ton of great work trying to change the course of this state for the next however many years, and taking that to the next place, wherever you went?
Yeah. So if it hasn't been apparent enough by my long-winded diatribes, I'm an external processor. So I process things by talking about it. I process things by really kind of like communicating with other people about it. And I did a lot of that. I talked a lot to people on the campaign, off the campaign, my family, my friends. I really just kind of said out loud a lot of the things I was feeling and thinking. And that to me was really helpful, because oftentimes I would say stuff like, oh, we did this thing horribly. And someone would be like, no, you didn't. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. Maybe we didn't. So I think that was really helpful for me, in order to just kind of keep the positives. I think another thing that kind of helped fuel my accountability and keep the positives was really journaling. I write a lot about kind of identifying the things that I really liked and cared about. And like, I'm laughing about how my journaling has evolved, because initially I actually would literally start each entry with like, dear me, comma. And this was like 3 years ago, not even like 15. And now I'm just like, today this happened. But I think that it's interesting to really kind of take those moments to be like, I'm going to put this down on paper to look at and remind myself of if I ever forget it or if I ever get uncertain. And then just really internalizing it, thinking about it, thinking it through. And I think grounding myself back in, to use y'all's word and concept, the vision that I had. So being able to take those positives and be like, all right, these things help me because they're going to help me continue to work towards my vision. And like, they were in that,
No doubt.
they were in that frame of reference. They were still relevant. So yeah.
I think that's a great mentality, Jordan, and that's never an easy time for anyone, right?
Mhm.
To have something that you care about wiped out from you. Just losing on itself sucks,
Yeah.
but then losing your job double sucks, right? And
Yeah.
then being stuck without necessarily, one thing that I've learned living with Matt and being in DC and being friends with you is like, it's not like you can just like pick up and grab a new job. Like, there's not like constant openings like there is in the business world. Like, it's something that I didn't truly understand until I became friends with you guys. It's like, no, you got to wait till like other politicians get elected or
Yeah.
someone retires or a new department is open, which never happens. It's like, you can't just pick up and start fresh. And I think that ambiguity is really, really hard. So the fact that you're able to hold yourself accountable to your vision and at least slowly, even if they're baby steps, move forward a bit towards that next goal, I think is wonderful. So I love that insight. we're now into our final section. We've gone through the three main parts of mental fortitude: self-awareness, vision, and accountability. And that brings us to our final section here, which starts off with rapid fire questions, Jordan.
Oh, shit.
So
you're kidding me.
Boom, 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 boom.
I'm going to hit you with a couple questions here. And rapid fire, you don't have to elaborate. You can if you want. But first thing that pops into your head. So first one, we're going to start with, what is your favorite book of all time?
Brave New World by Aldous Huxley.
And why?
It was written pre-World War II and outlined a lot of concerns that the author thought the world was headed to, and it kind of indicted a lot of mass production and just really gross shit that happened in the Industrial Revolution. And then also, but I will say as a disclaimer, he had some really bad views about population. Anyways.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to have to add that to the list. I'm excited to read that one. Next question. What would be your political campaign walkout song? You've been on enough now. You've been through the ringer. You've seen what other people
Or like
use.
your theme song, your campaign theme song.
What you walk out to?
Damn. Okay, well, can I give you two answers?
You can.
I'll give you the actual cheesy campaign politically answer that wouldn't actually be it, but when I was asked this question when I was younger, I always used to say, "Here comes the sun," which I think is so cute, right?
That is very cute.
And then I think
That's awesome.
I think my like actual one would be like "Body" by Bang and the Stallion or something.
Let's go.
I think that's one way to get the crowd hyped. Hopefully the clean version. It's a family campaign.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, and the final question, rapid fire for you here, is what is an insanely cool fact about North Carolina that most people probably don't know?
North Carolina is the largest producer of sweet potatoes in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So next
Is
time
a
you
sweet
get
potato
some,
the same thing as a yam?
this is a political question. Yes, you can attribute this to me. Yes, I think.
Yes. Okay. Understood.
But yeah.
Beautiful. Good job on
Love
the rapid
it.
fire question. And now
Wait. I got
Parker's
a question.
got-
You didn't even give me a
Oh,
question, bro. You didn't even give me a question.
you got
Yeah,
the last
one
question.
question.
What do you mean? We got all right, go ahead.
Give
You
me
got
the
another
rapid fire.
He's going off he's going rogue.
What
here.
is your favorite fiction movie or show about politics, and what is the one show or movie that you hate because it just misrepresents politics so badly that it's almost good?
These are going to be some hot takes.
Let's hear it.
I'll start with the show I hate. I hate West Wing. I think that it is overdone. I think that it is outdated. I think it does not depict a political reality that is applicable to the real world anymore. And people who like love it and obsess over it try to use those tactics in the real world. And you can't do that when you're dealing with an opposition party that doesn't want people to have rights in the country. So, anyways, I think
I wonder which party you were talking about there, Jordan.
the Green Party, obviously.
Of course. Okay, thank you.
I think that the one that I love, I mean, I feel like Veep is a cop-out answer. I do really like Veep. Veep, I'll say this, Veep has been closer to my experiences more than any other political show out there. I think that's funny because people don't believe it, but truly the amount of times in my jobs where I have just kind of been like, wait, what the fuck? Like out the window. And so Veep is truly the show that makes me laugh the most because it's the most accurate. And there have been many times when I feel like we are living in a Veep episode. So maybe it's the most applicable too.
Love it. Awesome.
Anything else, guys?
So,
Parker,
Sam, yes.
Throw it at me.
I gave
We
you the
have
honors, Parker.
one-
Go ahead.
Yeah. We have one more question.
Okay.
Jordan. It's an important question, and it's important because we ask every single guest who's come on the Elevation Nation podcast this one question. And it's a question that is dear to Sam and my heart. It is about mental fortitude. We've talked about mental fortitude. We've talked about the framework of mental fortitude, which is rooted in self-awareness, vision, and accountability. That is the thing Sam and I have been studying, obsessed with, talking about, reading about for the last 20 months. But what's unique about that is that is what we think mental fortitude is all about. So Jordan, Elevation Nation knows, and they're curious, what does mental fortitude mean to you?
I think mental fortitude is being able to ask for help when you need it. It's being able to give yourself the space when you need it to recover and to recharge, and being able to get back on the road and keep things moving when you're ready.
It's beautiful.
Regardless of what's to come.
Regardless of what's to come.
Damn right. If that doesn't make you want to run through a brick wall, I don't know what will. Jordan Monaghan, and your beautiful puppy who's whining in the background that wants to be let out.
I was wondering if you guys could hear that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Elevation Nation loved it. Barley, you're an absolute angel. Thank you for sitting through this. Jordan, seriously, Parker and I can't thank you enough for opening up, for sharing your story, for giving your words of wisdom. As we continue to try to help the next generation of young leaders feel more confident and comfortable in their skin and help them conquer the real world. So thank you for sharing your insight with Elevation Nation, and welcome to the nation yourself.
I know. I feel very, very honored and very happy to be a member. And I just want to reiterate something you said earlier in the podcast. I truly think the way that people kind of tackle these moments is reaching out to people to talk for help, or talk to them for help. And what you mentioned about someone listening, especially with your sexuality, if you're having issues, I am happy to be a sounding board. I don't have to know who you are, where you're from, what you want to do with your life. I think we can all kind of give each other some more advice and help each other get through some of these moments.
At the end of the day, we just got to be there for each other.
Mm-hmm. Cheers to that.
Along the road. Cheers to that. Jordan, can't thank you enough. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a first conversation, hopefully, of many down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But Sammy, it's that time of the evening or day or whenever you're listening to this podcast.
And with that, Elevation Nation, until next week, peace. Beautiful.